Hey guys, my name is Bando, this is Brexit Bando, and a little bit of a short one. It's going to be a very short video because it's just this one thing to go through. So Games Workshop has released this bit in what appears to be a tournament rules pack, and this isn't new news, this is something that's come out before. Alternate pattern STC usage forbidden. Commanders are not authorized to field units by alternate pattern STCs, colloquially referred to as 3D printers. This activity is designated Traitoris Extremis and is forbidden. Should a commander have designed, drafted and printed small bits, weapons options or bases themselves without involving a third-party source, those bits will be permitted. However, keep in mind that the Inquisition has many eyes and you are under observation. So what does this mean? 3D printed parts are banned at official Games Workshop tournaments. It's not news. We all kind of assumed it anyway. We knew that was going to happen the moment that a guy won a tournament with 3 Custodes tanks that he'd printed the day before and hadn't even painted. It was just going to happen. It's the bit at the bottom that I find kind of funny. Should a commander have designed, drafted and printed small bits of weapons themselves without involving a third-party source? So, if I design the heads and print them, I can do it. That's absolutely fine. Okay. Can you prove I didn't? Can you prove that I'm not Thummelfinger, I'm not Logic-A, I'm not Red Warden Miniatures, I'm not, Bulter-Younger, whoever? No. You can't prove that. And frankly, I don't actually have to try and prove it to you. But at the end of the day, this is not... I don't think the blow Games Workshop hopes it will be. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some people who will now be like, oh no, I can't use any 3D printed parts, and they'll avoid them. Those people probably weren't using a huge amount of 3D printed parts to begin with. The kind of people that go to Games Workshop tournaments, like official Games Workshop tournaments, are buying Games Workshop minis. The kind of people that go to independent tournaments and all that have been buying third-party bits, second-hand models and 3D printers forever. And any event that tries to force this, I'm just not interested in. And I'm sure a lot of other people are not going to be interested in. Because if this is permitted to continue, this then goes on to be third-party bits. This then goes on to be, they'll try and go after the second-hand market, which is very difficult, but they'll try. Companies have tried things like that before. Video games and stuff have tried desperately to make it so you can't resell video games, and have taken it to court. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if someone because that's how they're going. They're becoming very greedy, and it's silly. On this actual Facebook post, I don't want to dox anyone, so one of the guys literally posts a picture of the deodorant tank. On Games Workshop, Tony Cottrell used to be cool with this. If you'd shown the guys who founded Games Workshop in 1987 a 3D printer and what you could do, and the capacity that the community had for creativity, stupid. They would have been blown away. They would have loved it. They would have been the ones buying 3D printers. But corporate Games Workshop, rightly so, hates it. And vote with your wallet is such a silly phrase, but it is kind of true. Vote with your wallet, vote with your, your attendance. Tournaments cost money. You have a ticket that usually costs, anywhere up to £100 I've seen before for some tournaments. And if they're going to be like, hey, you can't use it because we're going to be using this tournament pack, just send them an email, say, hey, sorry, I'd love to come, but I can't support you using this tournament pack because of this rule. Just say if you hold events that isn't using, that won't be using these rules in the future, I'd love to attend. They'd very quickly learn. The tournament organisers would very quickly learn if enough people actually did it, because competition is the only thing that keeps companies fresh. Why do you think the iPhone is the way it is? Because the iPhone's a brilliant comparison to Games Workshop, because Warhammer is not a war game. Warhammer is Warhammer. That's what Games Workshop wants. They branded it as the Warhammer hobby. It's no longer a war game, it's its own thing. So it doesn't have any competition. I'm in the Warhammer hobby, I collect the books. I'm in the Warhammer hobby, I play the video games. I'm in the Warhammer hobby, I paint the miniatures. And the iPhone's the same, because the iPhone competes only with the older models of iPhone, because people who want iPhones don't look at Androids as smartphones, or they don't look at iPhones as smartphones, they look at them as iPhones. So they're not interested in buying a smartphone, they're looking at buying an iPhone. And there's no competition, so Apple just has to release the same model again, and again, and again. And if you look at the technical specifications of an iPhone, you'll notice that the newest ones are not as good as the top tier of the oldest ones, so there's no point in buying them. And they have to artificially hamper the performance of those phones to force you to buy a new one. And that's kind of what Games Workshop does with the rules for their models, but in reverse. They make the new models really, really, really good at release, so everyone goes out and buys them for a couple of weeks. And then they release an FAQ and go, oh yeah, this was too powerful, so we've dropped the power levels, and everyone's now sat on a £70 model that's nowhere as good as it used to be. There's no competition for Games Workshop. Well, there was no competition for Games Workshop, realistically. And now there is. You have 3D printing, which is a competition that doesn't have the cost outlay that Games Workshop does. A 3D printer does not have to buy material to sit in a warehouse, because all he's doing is digitally sculpting something. He doesn't have to pay a delivery company to ship his materials to his stores or to his customers, because it's all just hosted on a website for free. He doesn't have to pay staff costs, because it's probably just himself. There will be some that do, but very few. Doesn't have to pay retail costs, because he doesn't have a shop. So you've got almost no costs, so it's almost pure profit. You have a huge customer base, relatively speaking. And because your costs are negligible, your prices are low, which means there's a lot more window shopping and a lot more people making purchases of opportunity. You see an STL for under a £5? Yeah, I'll pick that up. That looks kind of cool. I'll get around to printing it eventually. I have stuff I've paid for that I haven't printed, and I've had a printer for 3-4 years. I'll get round to it. My digital pile of shame is considerably easier to hide than a real one. Tortuga Bay. You've got them. They're a direct competitor to Games Workshop. And the more companies that start pumping things out like that, Artel W Miniatures is another. Liber Demonica, more or less. And it's just going to keep chipping away at a small niche community and making it smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's why Games Workshop will move away from miniatures as their primary source of income. So yeah, what do you think? Does this matter to you? Do you care? Are you still going to take 3D printed parts? Do you think it's, would you care if you got kicked out of it if they thought your 3D printed parts were too much? Do you support this? Is this something you feel like you should be doing? That you should only be using official Games Workshop stuff? How far do you reckon Games Workshop should go to ensure that you're using official stuff. You know, should tournament organisers be able to scrape the paint off your miniature to make sure that the resin's the right colour, that it's not a recast? Let me know. Put it in the comments. Don't forget, there is also the Element Games code down there. If you are buying from the UK, please feel free to use that. It will double the amount of reward points you get from them. Come say hi to me in the comments. Come follow me on Instagram. Come join the Bolter and Chainsword, and come and have a look at what forums look like. You know, you Zoomers who have no idea what those were. And yeah, have a great day. Let me know what you're working on. My name is Bando. This is Brexit Bando. Bye bye.